Hi there. How's it going? My name's Bonnie Violet. I'd like to invite you to this evening's episode of Drag and Spirituality. This is our 5th episode, and tonight we'll be meeting Hennessy Williams. Before we get going, I just want to take a second to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Glide for hosting this event, for providing us the space and the bandwidth out into the Facebook Lives, as well as the Glide Pride team in supporting this event happening. Are we not going? Maybe we are. Anywho, are we still going, Perry?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Just checking. All right. So as I was saying, if you haven't been to Drag and Spirituality before, tonight we just take a moment to talk about drag and spirituality, and to maybe have a moment in which they both can exist together. Maybe talk about how they're related, how they're not related. I think for me, drag has been something that might have not been allowed in previous spiritual spaces, and I'm excited for myself to claim space, reclaim our sanctuary as being a drag person and being spiritual. A drag person, but being in drag and being spiritual. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest. Our guest tonight is Hennessy. Oh, I forgot. One of the things that I wanted to mention is this is a free event tonight. However, we would love it if you would be willing to go to the Transgender District GoFundMe page, which is at the top of this Facebook link. And make a donation to the Transgender District. That would be fantastic. They're the first legally recognized district of their kind on the globe, and they're located here in the Tenderloin of San Francisco, found and run by Black trans women. It's a wonderful organization doing really great things. Also, in kind of the mixture of spiritual space and drag space, you may also tip our drag artist as throughout the night if you feel so inclined. So you'll also see Hennessy's Venmo and social media information throughout the show as well. So without further ado, Hennessy Williams is a genderqueer drag performer who loves all things vintage, goth, Western, and genderfuck. They love to use drag to pay homage to their culture and also to question and challenge one's perception of what it means to be queer, Asian, American, and all of the above. Drag is how they express themselves artistically, and also a form of healing in which they engage with their past trauma and identities. Everything from being an abuse survivor to a former religious kid. This is Hennessy Williams.
我想知道流星能飞多久，它的美丽是否值得去寻求？夜空的花散落在你身后，幸福了我很久，值得去等候。于是我心狂奔，从黄昏到清晨，不能再承受。情缘坠落在你手中，羽化成黑夜的彩虹，蜕变成月光的清风，成月光的清风。
Hi, everyone.
Hey there. Wow, such a beautiful piece. I love that piece. That's how I came across that video, and that's how I like came to know you. And I was just like blown away, and I was like, I need to know more about this drag artist. So I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I remember when you left that comment, like you really appreciated my video. It means a lot that people are like seeing the video. It was like a really personal piece for me for both Pride Month and also for Asian American History Month. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was so nervous. I was like, they don't know me, but I'm just gonna try to send an instant message and see what happens. So I was so glad that
Yeah.
you said yes. Can you tell us a little bit about a little bit more about the performance piece?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people have told me that they really like that version of the song. I actually liked it way back when it was, just Coldplay. But the one of the origins of the song, and the reason why it was in the movie Crazy Rich Asians was because yellow historically has been a slur used against Asian people, and it's reclaimed in the song. And the Chinese lyrics are, which is in Mandarin, the language I actually grew up speaking but lost a lot of. The lyrics are a lot more like beautiful and I think meaningful in that language. But for me, I really wanted to do an homage to Asian Pacific Heritage Month and what it means to be, what it means for me personally to be Asian and reconnect with the history specifically of being like a marginalized person, being like a Chinese person or another Asian person in the United States, in a country that, has passed things such as the Chinese Exclusion Act, and where like Chinese railroad workers have like died en masse, like building our country's railroads. What actually happened was I paused the video for a while because as Black Lives Matter was going on, I realized that I need to, focus and like let them have space. And then I was thinking also about how I can make the video more intersectional. So I wanted to make sure not to have just East Asian representation, but like Filipino, Indian, like South Asian representation, about, solidarity with people that were targeted after like 9/11. And of course, also the solidarity of Asian American activists such as Yuri Kochiyama, who have, supported the Black Panthers, supported the civil rights movement. And I wanted to basically, kind of bring that up that like, our survival is also entwined with the survival of other people, and, pull it all together in something like, ending with, the passing of marriage equality and kind of like the future. So for me, there was like a lot of emotions wrapped up in it, and even more like stemming from my past. But for me, this was like both a political and really personal piece.
I really got that. I mean, I felt very like emotionally connected to the performance and you doing it. The song was beautiful. The visuals were amazing. I felt like I was learning something as well as like just enjoying it. And I really love drag that tells a story. Does a lot of your work, is a lot of your work similar?
Yeah, I just love drag in that it can like move you, make you laugh. I really love, basically like telling a story, or just like kind of making people think. So like a lot of my numbers are a little bit narrative based. There's sort of like some sort of like reveal or something at the end, whether it's a gender fuck number. You like take off clothes and then you transition from like looking like a man to looking like a gender fuck queen in a leotard and whatnot. And yeah, I would say that's a huge thing for me. And I also want to make people question their perceptions. Like people have maybe like a certain image of what Asian American looks like, or what a queen looks like, what a king looks like. And for me, I want to like make them question that. Like I do a lot of cowboy and Western numbers, and no one ever like thinks of like an Asian person, in that kind of outfit. But I'm like, you know what? Like I'm Asian American too. Like I can, basically take ownership of like these identities, and it's not contradictory.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I tend to like, that tends to be my lane too. I like, sometimes I want to just like have fun and do something silly, but it almost always has to have some sort of like purpose behind it. I'm getting there. I was curious to kind of know a little bit more about like life before Hennessy, like even like like little like long time ago. Like yeah, you know, childhood stuff. Would you mind sharing a little bit about kind of how you were raised?
Yeah, absolutely. I have so much to talk about in that regard, and it's crazy to see me like now wearing a cheap how, which is something I wouldn't have worn before, and making that video because when I was younger, I actually like hated being Chinese. I like really disliked my culture because for me there had to be a way to explain like why I was being hurt by so many people, specifically my family members, and they would say things like you have to be perfect, like you have to like they just like push so many beliefs in me. But I feel like when you get a lot of negativity and hurtful remarks, and when they would say hurtful things about like other people, it just made me like really associate the culture with them, and really just made me dislike things. So when I was younger, I actually said like a really like terrible things about like my culture, and then I think part of me growing out of it is learning how to like reclaim it in my own way. I've lost so much of my Mandarin. There was like a period where I had to like make myself like Chinese food again because it's like it's really weird because I became vegetarian. A lot of the food I liked before, I can't eat that anymore. And then like I have to find like a way to like kind of reconnect with the food. And so trying to like remember my train of thought, but it's just been a whole entire process to reconnect with myself and also define like Chineseness on my own terms, because like Han Chinese people have also been like oppressive, and what I want to basically share is not that sort of like imperialistic, you know, hierarchical sort of like culture. For me, it's something of inclusion. But yeah, to talk a little bit more about my childhood, I think in short, it sucked. Like I think I stopped becoming a kid when I was 12. There was just so much going on, so I basically just wanted to escape.
Yeah. When you were, I was, when you talked about like, when did it change when you wanted to start kind of embracing your Chinese heritage a little bit more? When did that happen?
I think honestly, oh, I know the answer. I went to a really, and this is kind of tying into spirituality. I used to be really religious when I was younger too. I went to a Christian Church of Christ university, Pepperdine University, which is yeah, like it's Church of Christ. It's a private university, and it was one of those things where it was the best school I got into that gave me enough scholarships for me to barely my family all together to barely pay for it. So that's the reason why I went. But you know, I was still religious at the time, and going to that school and having everyone treat me as an other, because at my high school it was like 60% Asian, and I want to say like there's always going to be like some level of sexism or like homophobia in a high school, but it wasn't at a level where it was constantly in your face. And to be around people that like call themselves Christian and were homophobic and racist and sexist every single time when I left my dorm, someone just go up to me and say something like fucking awful. I'm just like, oh my God, did you actually say that? And it got to the point where my anxiety was super bad. And it made me realize like, I believed this before to like an extent, but it's just like you can't make yourself good enough in front of these people. You just have to be good for yourself, and you have to embrace yourself. Like if they don't love me and I don't love like my own culture, like what is really like there left? You know, like they're never gonna, you know, I never like wanted to be like white, but I just wanted people to see me as like normal. And I realized if they're not going to see me as normal, then like I need to embrace like whatever I am, but like also like make it my own, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've heard a lot of people kind of talk about that around sexuality and sexual orientation, like the kind of getting to that place of like, if I can hold my queerness, if I can be comfortable in myself, then what's going on, then maybe other people can read that too. But either way, like, yeah. I was, so what then kind of changed? So you just like during that process in college, or?
Yeah, it was a slow like process in college, from kind of, you know, it was kind of from like late high school, just kind of, you know, just tolerating things, you know, not saying bad things, but just tolerating my family, tolerating my culture, not really having much interest, to college. After seeing all these things, it was kind of like, you know, like going back and figuring out who I was once I left that school and was in community college. And then basically, I think when I came into activism and I met all these amazing Asian American people that were activists and supporting causes that I really believed in. It made me realize like there are people that are like me and stuff. So when I went to UC Irvine for this conference, it was actually the Asian Pacific Student Association conference. But yeah, it was like that conference, and that like changed my life because they talked about so many intersectional issues about like paternalism in like Filipino countries, about like homophobia and being Asian American, about intergenerational violence, and these were all things I wanted to know about. These conversations would never even be started at Pepperdine because they still had to kind of like learn how to treat people as human. Basically, I feel like so. I ended up going to UC Irvine and being part of that group there and just learning so many things. And that's when I realized like you can, like, the culture I identify with doesn't have to be the culture my family pushed onto me. Essentially, it can be my own thing. And for me, that's being Asian and being like hella gay and being in solidarity with other marginalized people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just fantastic. So it's like getting to go to Irvine. Had you had you been thinking that way before, but you just hadn't been able to, like, I guess part of it is like, sounds like Irvine really kind of opened up to some things. Were you kind of aware of it, but you just hadn't had access to the information? Or
kind of like in a way, I feel like sometimes there's information out there, but you see it floating around. But when you meet someone that is there to kind of like guide you through it, like when you go through like this period of, I guess, like becoming an activist, or especially like academic activism, you're not going to know all the right words. You're not going to know what's like problematic sometimes. And so sometimes someone has to like take your hand and like lead you through it. And sometimes you kind of just like end up getting in the middle of it, and you find out like on your own whether it's the easy way or the not so easy way. And I think for me, like oh man, like I've always just been like, how come people don't care about other people? Like, how can you not care about people that are like suffering out there? How can you not care about racism? And I remember like being at the age of 6 and hearing my parents say really racist things and being like, that doesn't really sound right. Like it's wild, that sort of like just immediate, I don't know how to say it, just like whiplash of like, oh, so you don't think like that. For me, I feel like there's definitely been periods where I was like ignorant and there were a lot of things I didn't know, but finding just really inspiring people that made me realize like I want to be more like you. I remember there was like a queer person at that conference who talked about like, had this amazing workshop, like basically on sex and consent. And I was just like, I was like enamored, to be honest. I was like, I want to be you. Like I ended up getting tattoos. I cut my hair short. I ended up looking a little bit like that person. I guess, yeah, it's just like kind of like modeling yourself after people and realizing like you want to learn more, but you have to like really want to learn more things about like your culture and about activism and stuff.
yeah, I know, like for me, I grew up in Idaho, and like there was like a lot of those racial comments that were said as well, and like I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have the language to like really confront it. Like even I would attempt to say, don't use this word, use this other word, but it's still being used in a horrible way. So it doesn't matter if you're, you know what I mean? Like it's still the same thing, but for some reason I just thought it was better. But I think like it's what I'm hearing too is like, for me too, is like, I only knew one narrative, and I only knew one way of being the way I was. And I lacked the imagination of like seeing what I could be. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think we get told what we can be. And then once we start to see other people, like, oh, I think that's more of like where I'm going. I really related to you sharing that.
Yeah, I saw this really inspiring post that like, right now, like you are going to be a gay person that a young gay person looks at and thinks, I want to be like them. You're giving them permission in sort of a way by communicating who you are and living your most authentic self. And that really meant a lot to me.
You do you hear that a lot too when you do drag? I hear so many people, like, it feels like they find themselves somewhere in between. And like half the time I'm like, I'm just existing, and they're like impacted in such a like a powerful way.
My friend who is Nepali and South Asian, she actually went to one of my shows where I did the king look. And so it was the Mandarin cover of Despacito, but it also had the Louis Fonsi part in it. So it was in Spanish and Mandarin. And me and Luke Modello, who is my drag son, who is a Latinx king, we did a number together. The audience loved it. And then she was like, I didn't know that you could do drag that look like that. Like drag that's, you know, like cultural and multilingual and stuff. And I'm just like, it can be whatever you want to be. And she got really interested. And now I'm like, you know what, if you ever want to do anything, if you ever want a gig, let me know and I'll like get you in, because there's people that just really want to explore it.
Definitely. So when did drag come into your life?
It actually came after I moved. So I grew up in the LA suburbs, and then I moved over to Oakland shortly after university. And it was actually really funny because my roommate at the time, she was watching, it's so stereotypical, but she was watching Drag Race. And I was like, what is that? Can I go watch? And it was specifically, it was the All Stars 2. I remember Roxy and Tatiana. It was them doing their like set. And I was like, this is cool. So I started, I had always been kind of interested in drag kings for a long time, but like I didn't even really go out when I was younger. I would just like worked my ass off. I didn't really have public transportation. So, but now I was like, I need to find the one drag king place, whatever, and go there. And I looked it up. I typed in literally drag king show San Francisco or Oakland, and I found the Rebel Kings. And then I met Vera, and then I was like, I want in. I showed up in this like, you know, really bad blonde wig and like my makeup, showed up late. Vera immediately saw me, like did this and was like, I like that. After the show, I was like, I want in. And then I just pretty much did that. And it was like maybe like 3.5 years ago. And I've just been doing it ever since. And yeah.
Yeah. And so you started out, I know you like, so it's, did you, and I know you're, you don't, you're genderqueer and you're drag. Did you start out being more of a drag king and then that change, or have you always had kind of that gender queerness about it?
Yeah, it's actually always been both. And it's, I didn't even realize that these, you know, being a drag king and being a drag queen, that it could, these worlds could, you know, come together until recently. Because like I would try like a queen look when I was at home with my friend. And then the first time I really did drag was Halloween. I dressed up as Ernest Hemingway with like a whole like beard that took me like an hour to draw on. And then the first drag number I ever did was a king number. It was To Marry You by Bruno Mars. Literally, it was a number where I had like this button-up shirt and you could kind of tell there was something underneath it. I took it off and there was a white wedding dress. So yeah, it's kind of just always been both for me. Yeah.
Fantastic. I wanted to just take a second to invite the audience as well. I didn't mention this earlier, but feel free to ask questions of Hennessy along the way. Just put them in the comments and I'll see them and I'll ask them of Hennessy for you. So what don't you like about drag? What are some of the drags about drag, I guess?
Drags about drag. Oh, let me think. You know, have you all heard of the BANQ? I don't know if it's BANQC, but that town hall happened and I wasn't there because I was prepping for an interview that ended up not happening. But so there was like a lot of discussion about like, you know, racism and not safe spaces in the drag community. And I think part of the reason why I didn't get into it until so late was because I had this impression that it wasn't, these spaces weren't really for people like me. I think it's also important to make drag accessible to young people in spaces where like alcohol isn't there. I think there's a lot of cattiness in the drag community where I just hear people saying hurtful things and I don't really get why. I think sometimes hurt people, and I've been in that environment too, but I think oftentimes we're also like vulnerable. I just kind of wish that I hate to say like I wish we would get along, but I think things we need to call out are, you know, like abusers, racism, sexism, homophobia, all those things really need to be called out. But I think if it's something else where it's just like feelings and people, I think sometimes I just wish people would be kinder to each other, you know, when it's like not those things that I mentioned.
Right. I feel like I think the San Francisco group is definitely looking at all of those area, all of the intersectionalities of like what is like what's not happening right in the entertainment here, like in like the Castro or even in San Francisco in general. Chicago has done some really great stuff around that as well too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that conversation.
What?
Oh, I said I'm glad that conversation is happening.
Yeah, they're really hard. I mean, I think they're really, you know, as like somebody who's white, they're really like interesting questions. There's so much that like, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty like, I don't know, like I got things figured out, so to speak. And I know enough to know that I don't, but still it's just like, there's just so much that I'm just constantly like coming to realize and understand and to listen like more and more and more. It's like, sometimes it's a little like, I'm just glad that I'm like in a space, because everyone back home in Idaho, it's a completely different world. Let's just say they're anti-maskers. And that's like where it all begins. Yeah. So how about all the, what do you love most about drag?
I think, and then this kind of goes into spirituality question, too. But there was a period where I got really depressed. So I started off Christian and then I, you know, stopped being Christian. I was kind of like not really believing in it, but then I just kind of felt a little bit empty in the sense that I was like, okay, so you go to work, you know, you have fun, you have like a beer after work, you, I don't know, go see a show, find some entertainment, and then what? You know, we just keep repeating this until we die. And I remember I was talking to my two best friends. I was like, is there more to life than this? And they I think they just said like, oh, Amy, like like my real non-performer name. And then when I found drag, I stopped thinking those thoughts. I stopped thinking about like death. I just started thinking about like life and what I could create and love. And it became even less so of like I need to leave something behind, but just like if I can touch people and make them feel happy or laugh or like make them feel like warmth and stuff while I'm still here, that makes me really, really happy. And it's this feeling of love and kind of like giving love. And I think from there, it's just really grown. So I think for me, the way it makes me feel in terms of like art, creativity, community, that means so much to me. But I think really without the community, there would be so much missing.
I mean, you're giving life to people. I mean, that's why like I wanted to do this series. I think drag performers they are spiritual leaders. I mean, we might not call ourselves that, but like we lift people's spirits. We give them laughter. We tell them stories. We show up in public and like represent. You know, we take the crap. We raise money to take care of our people. I mean, that's some spiritual shit in my mind. You know, that's what I expect from spiritual people. You know, and so I love, I mean, to me, drag is just like, it gives me life and it gives so much life to so many others. We do have a question. A question comes from Angel. Angel says, who supports you the most and how do you ask for help whenever you feel stuck?
That is a really good question. My answer to this used to be not as easy, but now the answer is easy. I met my partner about 1.5 years ago, and it's really amazing just to meet someone that knows I'm non-binary and to have another queer person love you for all of the different aspects that you are. He helped me set up like my light before this. So that's my support. My sister's also really supportive. I think before him, oh man. But I think just like going to friends and going to people who have been there for you and just like tapping into your community. I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question aside from who do you go to?
Like, yeah, how do you ask for help whenever you feel stuck?
I think especially in the drag community, if someone says that they want to help you, in my experience, they really mean it. there's so many people that have just said, hey, like, I'll get you a gig. There's so many people that like, let me introduce you to this person. People have given me things like bags, or like I always give out makeup and stuff. And I think for me, developing trust was really, really hard, and learning how to be like not to be like so stubborn and like I have to do everything myself. There's just so much that you can create when you collaborate with other people. So I guess there's no like easy answer, but it's kind of like a muscle. You kind of have to work with it. You start with the people that are like closest to you and you ask them for help, and then you can get to a point where you can feel more confident asking for help from other people. But it's really, really hard, and I can sympathize with kind of like the struggle of it.
Yeah, it feels like it can take some time. I remember I had somebody I really love asked me if like she could be my drag mom, and I was like, I said no. Like I was like, why would I not, like why would I not do that? And it was just like, I don't know what it was, but I was like, no, I can't. And I was very not willing to take any sort of like suggestion as far as like how I like, maybe you should try a contour, or maybe you should, and I'm like, no, like I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, it can be really helpful just to kind of soften up and be like, I don't know, connecting with other folks.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So would you say, what does your spirituality look like today? Do you have like a spiritual practice, so to speak, or is it more loose? Or
I think for me, I don't really ascribe to so much of like a higher being or whatnot. One thing that I really I feel like we have so much power to do what we want, to change and to take like power in our hands. Like, I mean, I literally escaped an abusive family in LA and left, and literally forged the life that I have today. And that like really wasn't easy, but it also takes like a lot of resources to do that. So I'm not saying everyone can just like pack up and leave and stuff, but I think for me, spirituality, I think today is love, and love is like, it's something I had to build up, because there was a period where I didn't want to have emotions anymore. I was so hurt and broken. Like, I found out a friend of 10 years had just been talking about me behind my back and just like really looked down on me. Like there's like a thing where someone only has you around so that you can make them look better. I couldn't believe that was a thing, but it totally was a thing. And my trust was shattered. It had been shattered before, but slowly like trying to teach myself how to love, and the love that I give to my cat, who like I just love to death, the love that I give to my partner, to the people around me, like my drag daughter, my sister, who I'm really close with. To me, that is the way that I like want to share all of my values, and that's the way that I kind of give a little part of myself to them, but not in a way that drains me, but in a way that actually gives me more energy.
yeah, definitely. Would you want to talk with us a little bit about some of the other like mediums of drag? I know that you've done stage and video, but you also, like, I saw your cooking show and I saw you doing makeup tutorials. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about all of the kind of things that you're doing in drag as part of your art?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a lot of videography. So I participated in a lot of digital drag shows. I'm in one tomorrow, which is Golden Hour, which is actually a pretty spiritual show itself. But you had Syzygy on this
Yes.
Series, so you know all
Yes.
about that. So I have a cooking show that's on YouTube. Besides that, actually outside of drag, I also have a small production team where we make videos about LGBTQ people of color, and we share that. And that's just like kind of like another way that I put something out in the world that I feel like would make like the world a better place. So for me, like drag is like it's like such a huge part of me now, that I want to do so many different things with it. Like I want to create things and maybe eventually produce things, but it's something that when I do it, I want to make sure that I do it right. So right now I just feel like I'm like soaking things in and learning, like soaking things in as a sponge. But yeah, I do a lot of like videography, and I like perform on stage. I think to like do poetry with drag, or to like tell stories with drag, is really powerful. And so I really want to explore those things as well.
So Linda Summers, who was a previous guest, she's asking, what are some fears that you have when you do drag, if you have any, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, let me think. Sometimes I have fears of just like looking stupid. I used to never dance because people made fun of me once and then I stopped. So I didn't dance for like 10 years until I started drag. I taught myself how to dance because of that. And I think it's just like sometimes it's okay if you look stupid. I've had people like kind of like mock me or like kind of copy me the way I like walk once during like a drag show. That like made me feel a little bit weird, but I was like, you know what? Like they were enjoying themselves. Everyone else was enjoying you. And it's just like it's like it's not that serious, you know? If you put something out and you didn't do anything wrong and you know created art and it's not someone else's jam, then you know that's fine. So I think the other thing is like, and this is something that you know it's like if you have to think about it, probably not, but I want to make sure that anything I put out isn't insensitive, that it is really considerate, you know, not like cultural appropriation, is considerate of people who are of different marginalized identities that we don't think about all the time. So there was actually some genderfuck drag that I was afraid to do because I thought maybe it wasn't my place until I realized I was non-binary. Now I do all of it. So I think definitely those are two things. But it's, if you feel like what you're doing is right, then I'm not saying if you think what you're doing is right, it's right. But it's just like, if you educate yourself and you really critically think about it, then usually it's going to come out really positive. People are going to love it.
Great. Elizabeth in Chicago wants to know, how did you choose the name Hennessy Williams?
Okay, so I was thinking I wanted to find something that was gender neutral and was catchy. My name before this was Andrew Clemens because I started doing drag king stuff and I was like, oh, it sounds literary. So I wanted to continue the literary theme and I was like thinking. I was like, Hennessy Williams, like Tennessee Williams, and Hennessy the alcohol. And you can call me Ms. Henny for short, or like just Henny. And I was like, that's perfect. So it's like a literary pun. I actually did drink a lot of Hennessy back then. I don't drink that much anymore. I still like it, I guess. So yeah, it's basically short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super.
It almost sounds a little country.
Yeah, I kind of wanted that too. I wanted like something kind of like dapper, but it's more like Southern dapper, which is okay. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Reverend Marvin White wants to know, who is the spirit in the picture over your left shoulder?
Oh, yeah, that is, okay, these nails.
Right, it's like, can you adjust it?
Drag queen, one of my favorite queens of all time, and that's a signed picture. I actually have two more pictures of Bob. No, wait, one more.
Who did you say that was?
Bob the drag queen.
Bob the drag. I love Bob.
I love Bob. I met Bob once.
And Bob's doing some really rad shit with like just talking about race and racism and like just I mean everything he's creating is just I guess she's creating is like amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like just someone that's just like so off the cuff, like says it the way it is willing to call shit out, but is just really funny and just good at like what she does. I also really respect a queen that can sew. That's a huge thing for me. Yeah, like that was just, I was like, oh, I love Bob, the full package.
Well, and she's just kind of humble, you know. She's just like, you know, I think she's fairly humble, which is great. Oh, I lost my question. I knew that I would get to that spot, right? Do you have anything that can you think of anything that you wanted to share that I haven't brought up in the moment?
Oh yeah, so I actually realized there was like I was like blanking out for a moment, but another part where you mentioned like what else I do with drag. So I actually I style several of my wigs. I just kind of like taught myself to do a lot of things, and then I actually had an interest in sewing back when I was younger. My parents were really paranoid. They were like, no, you can't play with the needle. But like I was like, I cosplayed as Raven, which was really gay, like Raven from Teen Titans in the 6th grade. I like made my own outfit, but I couldn't have like, the bathing suit sort of body because that was too revealing. So I wore shorts. So I actually make several of my outfits. Nothing actually that I'm wearing right now, but I love sewing. I love making things. I think for me, it's like you should do things that scare you, and you should like express yourself. So yeah, I also sew and then try and like teach myself like wig stuff and just as much as I can.
Lean into the discomfort a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
That we grow. I was curious, I guess, how do you see what would you like to see more of in drag?
More of in drag. Let me think.
Or even what you would like to do?
Yeah, let me think. I think in the drag world, well, definitely, I think there needs to be an even, like, the playing ground needs to be even. I think we're really missing a lot of voices of drag kings that are saying really amazing things, of non-binary people, of trans women, and I feel like those voices need to be uplifted. But honestly, like I follow so many amazing people on Twitter and Instagram, and it blows my mind all the time. I'm just gonna name a few people that like inspire me, but like Untitled Queen, Akira Oni, um, forgetting the name. Nope, I can't remember. Okay, like so many queens here, like and kings, like here in the Bay Area as well, that are just doing really amazing things. Like I literally look at their stuff and I like take notes on it. And so I think in terms of like creativity, they're thinking of all these amazing things before I can even think of them. So I feel like drag is like on the right path. I just feel like those voices need to be amplified. I was also in a show that was like international, and seeing these international performers from all around the world, from all different time zones, do different things. I think to have like this global sort of environment, that's really cool. I'd love to see more like international drag shows.
Right, and I love we're getting to see. We had drag king on earlier who is 18, and so he's not old enough to be in the bars and stuff, but right now he's able to do performances on the virtual stage, which I think is great too, that there's more room for. I'd like to see more young people drag.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we just need to learn to listen to young people in general. Like I think part of the issues with that town hall is just like, I don't know why when people think or get older, they just think they know better than young people. And I thought that when I was like a kid, and I still think that now. Like kids are smart, and you should listen to them. And sometimes they know things that you don't know because you haven't gone through it.
Yeah. I'm just amazed. I love hearing just a different experience that people are getting to have nowadays than what I had growing up, especially around like queerness or drag or any of that fun stuff. One of the questions asks how cosplay, or does cosplay influence your style? How has cosplay influenced your style?
Oh, that's interesting. I want to say I haven't done that much with cosplay, but I actually did go to Anime Expo for 2 years when I was younger. I cosplayed as Naminé from Kingdom Hearts and Korra from Legend of Korra. So let me think. For me, it's less cosplay and more like I want to take bits from like historical like bits from like pieces of history. Like I pluck a little bit of that, or like sometimes something like inspired by like a video game or a TV show. I've actually been watching the anime Demon Slayer, and I think that's why my look is a little bit more like monster-y today. So I just different things inspire me. Oh yeah, I've done an Avatar number where I was like Fire Lord Ozai. So for me, it's like kind of here and there, but I think it's really fun just to like do something, but then put a twist on it and then kind of do it your own way. I have so much respect for cosplayers. Like you just learn how to do everything. So I think cosplay is really cool.
Fantastic. There's a question. I'm gonna I think it's Leia or Leah or Lay maybe, has a question. What was your most transformative moment or experience in drag?
Ooh, okay. Let me think. Oh, Leia.
I know, I'm like, sorry for saying your name wrong if I did. Do you know Leia? Or
Longanisa?
Yes. So,
yes. Okay. I might even be saying it wrong because it's based off, the singer. Leah. Okay. Most transformative drag experience. I think, oh man, I'm really blanking out. I think
Have you
just,
ever,
huh?
have you ever worked through like a process with some like for me, like what like for me, I like work through my gender stuff with being trans, and performing that has helped me like, I don't know, work through some of my shit, or suicide with friends, things like that have, I don't know, that's what comes to mind for me. Anything like that? Or
You know, so I did the Miss Gappa pageant, and I came to it being very confident.
mhm.
And I remember, so like this is because I know like Leia asked a question. I assume it's the same Leia, but I remember I got the question, if you weren't picked for this, which two drag queens would you want? Which drag queen would you want to win? So I mentioned Leia because her drag was just so inspiring to me, and I was like, it's like, you know, when you don't exactly underestimate someone, but then someone comes out and just does something so amazing that you're just like, whoa, hold up, like
Right.
that's amazing, you did that. And then my drag mom too, like with her bravery and talking about the different things that she's done, Mocha Fapa Latte. So I cited them both, and then they both came up to me and told me how much my words had like moved them. And then for me, I wasn't, I don't know, I just kind of said what I felt. And then I think for me, it's really amazing because you realize the kind things you say to people, it touches them a lot. And the kind things people say to you, it's just like when you see these relationships of just like love and trust and people making art together. I think yeah, it was really beautiful. And so it's just like I used to have like a negative or pessimistic view on life, and you know, there's a lot of sometimes ugly things in drag, but I think it's kind of restored my faith in humanity a little bit, in that people can be kind to each other.
Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful thing to witness, for sure. I was curious, like, what's next for Hennessy? Like, do you have like I don't know, like a dream stage you'd like to be on, or something that you're planning on doing?
I do have a dream stage. My dream stage used to be Oasis, or the Mother show, but then I finally got on the show that was like after Mother. So I feel like I can accomplish that dream. I would love to be on Bitch Pudding's digital drag show. I have applied twice,
Uh-huh.
hoping that they notice me. So if anyone has any like connections where I can send things, um, I feel like the Dragula queens, they're just so amazing. I just like want to get to know them and like pick their brain and stuff. Um, but I think in terms of dreams, one dream is like to be able to go across Asia and perform, to go
Mm.
across Europe and perform. And then also just really do cool things with my YouTube channel, drag queen cooking. I may be looking into doing a Twitch show for drag queen cooking soon. I'm kind of like laying out the details. But for now, I try not to make expectations and just kind of like keep doing what I'm doing, because when you love something and you pursue it, like you're going to see results, and people are going to see the things that you make out of love.
Right. What advice would you have for somebody who's maybe just getting started in drag, or is thinking about it, or
Yeah, I would say definitely there's no shame in like just doing makeup in your bedroom and practicing by yourself. There might be a period where you feel like, oh, what am I doing, or this looks bad. I won't my my first attempt at drag is so horrific. Like people are like, oh, first time in drag. I won't put that on. It's bad. It's really, really bad. I did not know how to do makeup. So don't be afraid to kind of just get a little bit embarrassed at yourself, and then ask, like go to shows and then just talk to people and say, I love what you did. Can you tell me a little bit more about something? Like, and when people see that sort of thing and you're willing to ask them a question, I always try and help as much as I can. And it's like if I can't, you know, like be your drag mom or direct you to resources, it's like if they have a question, I know someone that can help them, so I'll redirect them to someone. So I would say definitely ask and, you know, go into it. Don't be discouraged if you don't get it at first, because none of us get it at first.
you have to start somewhere, right? Yeah. So we're coming up on just a few minutes left. So if anyone has any questions that they want to get in, now is a good time to put them in. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us this evening, Hennessy?
I think nothing in particular about myself. I just hope, yeah, I just hope people in the community like definitely check out local queens and kings, check out, you know, emerging people, give people a chance, be kind to each other. That's mostly it.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show this evening. I was so excited to get to know you a little bit more this evening, and I look forward to maybe getting to work together and collab in the future. So to everyone, thank you for showing up tonight and participating. Again, look to see all Hennessy socials and Venmos and all that fun stuff, and hook them up. And then also click on the transgender district and learn a little bit about the trans district, and or, you know, send some coin. The next Dragon Spirituality event will take place this Sunday at 7-Eleven, and our guest is Peaches Christ. So I guess come find us then. Also, if you've missed some of our previous shows, you can find them on my YouTube channel on A Queer Chaplain, as well as on Instagram. Sparkle is as Sparkle does, and then you can go to Glide's Facebook page and see the videos there as well. So thank you so much again, Hennessy. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night. Bye-bye.